All right, folks. Well, you know you're in for a treat when you hear that tune, because it's time for another week of the Rec Poker Podcast. In fact, it is episode 591 today. I am super excited. We're going to be joined by Ashley Frank. You know her better as Pokerface Ash in just a moment. But first, I got to tell you a little bit about what you're in for. So this is the Rec Poker Podcast. It's the chat edition where we talk to a different luminary in the poker world every week. My name's Jim Reid. I have the best freaking job in the world, hosting the show, talking to my friends about poker every week here. I'm Blusterini in the home game and at RecPoker Jim on Twitter. And you can join me every week at 7:30 Eastern live on YouTube. We give away a prize. We have fun with our guests. And if you like what you hear tonight, we actually also have a second podcast that comes out every week, just talking about strategy. We call that the Forums edition. So stay tuned. All right, now we're going to talk to Ashley in just a minute. But first, I have to mention we are brought to you by the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. They are the official sponsor of the Rec Poker Podcast, which is really important because most of what we do here is free. We're a largely volunteer-based organization, so we really depend on the support of our sponsors and of our premium members who chip in their $15 a month to help make the magic happen here at Rec Poker. We got a couple new members I want to thank, Chris Hafer and Frank Friel. Thanks, Chris and Frank, for throwing your $15 a month in. That helps us out a lot. And I can't wait to get to know you both a little better. Welcome to what's going on over here at Rec Poker. Like I say, most of what we do here is free. Sign up for a free community account anytime. All it takes is an email address and a smile, although we do insist on both. But if you want to take your game to the next level and join the premium membership, it's only $15 a month. You can get your first month for only $5 by using the code RecPoker at checkout. Now, they let me host the show on Mondays, so you get used to hearing my voice, but I am just a small cog in the Rec Poker machine. It takes a group, a gang, a village, a crew to make the magic happen around here. We call our group of wizards the Wrecking Crew. Of course we do. And if you want to learn more about me or the rest of the Wrecking Crew, you can go to rec.poker/crew. But you can also just listen up. You're going to meet a few of them right here tonight on the show, starting with none other than our producing co-host, Chris Jones.
Well, I'm Chris Jones. You can find me 5B5 on Twitter or 5x5 in the PokerStars home game. And I help run our monthly deep dive strategy segment where we dig into a poker topic as a community.
My name is Eric Jin. You can see me posting in our forums as Binkley or find me in threads as Rec Binkley. Every Thursday night, I do the Play, Explain, and Learn, or Peel, where we do a deep stack cash simulated game, where later on you'll see a video where everybody explains their thoughts and you can see everybody's hole cards.
I'm John Somsky, also known as Poker Geek and Man Everywhere, and I help to run our home games.
I'm Kim Kilroy. I'm PetVat33 or PetVat, and I am Fergie56 on our home game. I run a hand history review group once a month on the second Wednesday of the month and oversee our travel group on Rec Poker.
I'm Rob Washam. You can find me as Rabman50 just about everywhere. And on the first and third Wednesdays of each month, you can join us as we discuss the latest poker books. This Wednesday, or the coming up, is going to be June 5th. We'll be discussing Zachary Elwood's chapter in Excelling at No Limit Hold'em, which is all about poker tells.
So as you can see, we have a lot going on over here at Rec Poker, and I am just so pleased and privileged to be a part of this fantastic Wrecking Crew. So thanks to everyone for all that you do every day, week, and month to make Rec Poker great. And thank you to Pokerface Ash for coming in and joining us here on the show. So Ashley, let's get official. How should I refer to you now that we're like best buds on the show?
Yeah, either one. I guess I prefer Ashley.
All right. So, Ashley, a lot of our listeners probably already know who you are, but let's just say someone doesn't know who Pokerface Ash is. Just give us a few sentences sort of summing up your role in the poker world and kind of how you view your own space in the poker world today.
Yeah, so I guess I would call myself a professional tournament poker player, and I am also a content creator. I put vlogs out on YouTube, kind of reviewing hands of sessions I play. I'm also a part of the WPA, the Women's Poker Association, so I also really, it's important to me to be a good kind of advocate for women in poker.
That's awesome. The Women's Poker Association and RecPoker have been friends for a long time. We do a lot of collaborative stuff. It's a fantastic organization and an easy cause to get behind. So that's great. You and I have had the chance to meet at a couple Run Good Poker Series events. Those are a blast. Let's just get right into it. You're a professional tournament player. That's so glamorous and exciting. Tell us a little bit about the journey getting there. What was it like getting into poker and deciding to take this lead?
Yeah, well, there's a long version and a short version. I guess the short version is I started kind of grinding 1-2 no limit hold'em. Actually, it was spread limit, so it was $100 spread limit game.
We know spread limit. Yeah, there's a lot of Minnesotans in the crowd tonight.
Okay,
so we're very familiar. Yep.
Yep. So started out doing that one summer. I think it was 2018 or 2019. I decided I was still playing part-time at the time, and I decided to go out to the World Series. And I had a very, very, very small bankroll at the time, but decided to go fire a few of the daily deep stacks. I ended up running deep, got fourth out of 1,300 people for about 13 grand, which at the time was like so much money to me. That's where I caught the tournament bug. Making 13 grand in one day was pretty incredible. And the rush, running good, just winning all ins, being the final table chip leader, like those were all things I'd never experienced on that type of scale with 40,000 for first place. And that's where I caught the bug for tournaments. I really hadn't played much up until that point. So.
That's amazing. So I'm sure our YouTube chat folks are going to have some questions for you. We are broadcasting this live. So just feel free to enter your questions into the YouTube chat there. And I'll also say for our YouTube chatters, stick around. We're going to be doing a giveaway at the end of the show like we do every week to help support a local food bank. And we're also counting on you to start listing some famous poker players' names in the chat so that we can make Ashley feel uncomfortable later with our stake study stack segment. So start throwing some names out there. And finally, I'll just appeal to our YouTube audience. We've officially made it to the point where we can accept super chats and people can donate and help us out by supporting what we do here. So if you're watching live and you'd like to help us out, feel free to make a super chat, and we share a portion of all our proceeds that we get through the YouTube super chats with a local food bank as well. So stick around, get active in the chat, and we're going to have a lot of fun today. So yes, I mean, having that big score, there's something you cannot argue with about tournament poker. People talk about cash games being like a more reliable revenue stream, and the variance of tournament poker being so massive and frightening, but there's just no other way to get a kind of multiplier like that as a poker player. How do you sort of balance the variance element of it, the frightening lack of control over what you get to bring home in a day or week with your love and passion for tournament poker?
Yeah, so it's like I tell people all the time, it's like kind of the same thing, but also a different beast at the same time, because really on a grand scheme of things, over an infinite number of hands, if you're a winning poker player, you're going to come out on top playing tournaments just like you would in cash games. So, but the graph, if you zoom out, it's going up. However, if you zoomed in, to a very like small sample size, yes, it can look like it's going down for quite a bit of time if you're running bad variants and stuff. So it's important to keep in mind the long-term results, right? So keep at it, keep grinding, keep trying to play your best. And that's really ultimately how you're going to continue to stay profitable playing tournaments. So yes, they are very high variance, but at the same time, it's just kind of like cash games. You come play, make plus EV decisions, and you're going to end up making money if you're a studied profitable player. So
it's a good answer. So we've got our first question from the YouTube chat here. First of all, you've got a couple fans already. Michael Miller saying that you guys met up at a Run Good event as well, and that you're a lot of fun to play with. Marian Miskowski, who I've spoken to before, I'm saying that she loves your vlogs and she's learned so much. Please make more vlogs. I love this feedback from the group. We do have a question from Chip Extractor. Steve, nice to see you again, man. Can you talk a bit about your experience taking on one-on-one coaching with Fausto Valdez? Steve said, I hear he's not horrible. Also, can you comment on what your current study routines look like?
Yeah, so first of all, highly recommend using Fausto as a one-on-one coach and mention me for a discount. So yeah, but I met him a couple years back and we automatically clicked just talking about poker and he saw that I was so passionate about it. However, I was very, very new, so I didn't know a whole lot. Finally, kind of got the money together to get the coaching from him, and it was poker life changing in the sense of I realized that I don't know a lot and I realized how much I don't know and that I need to learn. And it kind of started me on this journey of really digging deep into this. I call it the black hole of poker study. And so, as far as how he approaches it, he really likes to hear from you so he can kind of pull out of you your thought process and how you kind of think about the game. And then so he can kind of tailor the teaching to you and how you're approaching the game, which I think is something that maybe, other cookie cutter coaches might just like throw a bunch of stuff at you and not really care how you think about poker or just in general. So I was able to kind of show him how little I knew, and he was kind of able to fill in those gaps and way things that I needed to work on. So I highly recommend him. He's a great coach. He knows a lot and he's very exploitative. So while he'll teach you GTO stuff and he'll teach you foundational stuff, he's very, very big on obviously deviating and exploiting, which is obviously where we make money. So
yeah, that's great. I think a lot of most of our listeners are recreational players, and I think some of them feel like, I'm not ready to get coaching yet, or I need to get my game to a certain point where I can then get the most out of coaching. And I always tell them you've got it backwards. Like you couldn't be more wrong. Get coaching early. Get coaching to spare you all the time and effort of making all these mistakes and learning from your own mistakes early while the gains are so big. Now they might not be ready to start coaching Fausto right off the bat, but what was your experience like becoming better as a player? Like before you started getting coaching, how did you sharpen your game and develop your own strategy?
Yeah, so I think I felt a little bit lost because there was so much out there and I felt like I was picking and pulling from different things, but I was just kind of all over the place. So studying with things like Solve for Why, I did for a while, I took their homeschool coaching course. So that started me from the ground up. So I felt like I was kind of taking, advanced course here and an intermediate one here and a beginner one here. So all of a sudden I had all these open spots where I wasn't really I needed a good foundation, a good start. So that's kind of what the homeschool course did for me. And then also working from Fausto, we started from ground one, hey, you're 200 big blinds deep in a cash game under the gun. What's the bottom of your opening range? And I said, I have no idea. So that all was huge. So yeah, it was very all over the place at the start.
Steve mentioned in the chat, it seems so important to have someone who can point out your blind spots. Yeah, I think that's a big part of it, Steve. Just the idea that we're all too close to our own games to take an objective look at what we're doing right and wrong, and we also don't know, some of those shortcuts that more experienced coaches can help us with. So what do you do now? So you're a live player mostly, and I know, playing online, if you've got Poker Tracker or something like that, it's very easy to record your hands and to review your hands. Do you take notes while you're playing? How do you record hands, and how do you look at them later and benefit from them? And what does that look like for you as a live player?
Yeah, so there's a couple things that have been very, very beneficial for me to kind of up my game, elevate my game. Because I got to a point where I was surrounded by players who I was better than in a lot of ways because I grew and got to a place where I kind of outdid them in that way. So they were just recreational players. So there's nothing wrong with that. But I needed to be around and surround myself with players who were way better than me. And that has been one of the biggest things, talking hands with people who know more, who have been around longer, who have seen more hands. And so getting around people who are better than you is huge. And also people who are on your same, element as far as their drive and passion to get better, I think is very important. If it's not, then that's okay. But for me, I want to continue to grow and get better. And then the other thing is, so at the tables, if there's a spot where I'm not sure I did the right thing, just fundamentally, I'll write it down quickly and then go back on GTO Wizard later and look it up and then also run it by my friends. So that's something I kind of do now. Also, when I'm vlogging, I have no choice but to take very, very detailed notes at the table. So, but that I haven't really put out vlogs in a little bit. It's taken a little bit of a break. But currently, what I often do is take notes quickly in a tournament and then run them by my friends and also on GTO Wizard and see what I did right or wrong. So
That's great. And then how do you, because I know a lot of our players, a lot of our listeners talk about how, like, oh, if I use solvers, I'm going to find information that's not applicable to the games that I'm playing. So you're playing in decent games. You're playing against excellent players, but you are also not playing against GTO bots. So how do you take what you learn in the solver when you're reviewing a hand and then apply that towards the people, the players, the ranges that you're actually playing against on the field?
right, yeah, I think that that's such an important key to realize is, GTO Wizard is assuming you're playing against perfect opponents. So if you don't know, if you just sit down at a table and you don't know your opponents, you kind of have to start at the baseline, and then as you pick up information, as you gain little bits of pieces of information, then that's when you can deviate and you can start exploiting. But at the foundation, you got to start somewhere, and that somewhere is playing GTO, because the moves GTO Wizard makes are plus EV decisions. So yeah, I think it's important to kind of do that. Now, once you have reads or you see some leaks or exploits, that's when you can start picking that apart and deviating there.
Great. And I see we're already getting a bunch of questions in the YouTube chat. And RECing Crew members, of course, just unmute if you'd like to jump in and we'll get the conversation going. One from Joe Millay in here. What wisdom have you learned from poker that you apply to your life away from the table? It's a great question.
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to my mind is letting things roll off your back quick. Like if someone says something that upsets you at the grocery store, or there's someone's rude or cuts you off, some similar in poker where I get really upset because either I made a mistake or my opponent sucked out of me on the river and it was a huge pot or whatever. Like it's really important in order to make the most money you can to let those things roll off your back very, very quickly. Let the emotions pass, understand you're having them, but let them go and move on so you can not like live a happy life and also make money in poker. So I think they kind of mirror each other, go hand in hand.
I love that. We got a question here from Amirian. So I want to pull up, if you're watching on YouTube, this is a purple tie guide patch. This is something that we do with the Women's Poker Association. If you're a gentleman or a scoundrel, but a male of the male persuasion, you can get one of these, and it'll just sort of signal to other players at the table that you're an ally for folks that are maybe feeling uncomfortable, and particularly for women at the table. So Miriam's question is, have you experienced any of the challenges that are typically faced as a woman at the table? And do you have any tips for women at the table? I think both strategically, but also more importantly, just to feel comfortable and safe and that they're having a good time on the field.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important for everybody at the poker table to hold each other accountable. And what I mean by that is, there's been very few times, but there have been some times where I was, berated for being a female or not felt welcome, or a guy said something really sexist or rude to me. And it would help so much if the other 8 players at the table or 7 players would be like, hey, man, that's not cool, because it's so much better to come from your peers than the person who's getting attacked, or a dealer or a floor guy. So like being in the poker community, I think we can do a better job of all holding ourselves accountable and keeping people in line and in check. Now that being said, being the female in that situation, I'm just the type who I ignore it. I don't let it affect me, and I don't let them see that it's affecting me, and I just kind of let it roll off my back. And as far as strategy goes, a lot of times I think guys kind of underestimate us, or they think we're new, or that we don't know as much, or we're really, really tight. So the way that I kind of combat that is bluffing more, and also calling them down lighter, because they can show up with more bluffs thinking that we're going to fold. And so those are ways we can definitely take advantage and exploit. And now that being said, we as females have gotten a lot better. There's a lot more of us in the game, and we are becoming contenders. So now, I'm, finding it, not as easy to kind of like get those things through. But I take that as I take that as a compliment. So yeah.
Yeah, good. I think that's right. And is there something that, so I think being reactive like that, like if someone speaks out and is being a jerk at the table, like just putting them in their place is something that we should all be doing. I like the way you put that about sort of curating our community,
exactly.
being responsible for our own community that way. Is there anything more like proactive that guys should be doing, or is it really? I mean, I like to think that we can all just make the best assumptions about each other, but I don't know. I'm not in the experience. I don't know. I'm not in the seat that you're in. What's your take on that?
I mean, sadly, or it's just one of those things where the people's character are going to come out when money's involved and when high pressure situations. So it's just a reflection of who they are outside of the poker table. So unfortunately, they're just going to be who they're going to be, and hopefully they can learn and try to be better. But proactively, I think the WPA is doing a great job with kind of trying to train staff and floors at all poker rooms all over the country, which I think is really cool, and just kind of how letting women feel more welcome at the tables and how to kind of just hold men accountable if they do say something that's offensive, and then they should receive some sort of penalty for it, because it shouldn't be allowed. Like it should be something that is taken into account. So
well said. And the card rooms have a lot of discretion when it comes to those penalties and that kind of stuff. And so I do think it's something that we need to be the squeaky wheel about a bit as a community and get on the radar for the tournament directors and the poker room managers, and just let them know that, like, as a community, we're not going to accept that kind of behavior at the table. So, I appreciate that point. Another question from Marion. Ashley, what do you consider your biggest strengths as a player, and what are some of your challenges?
I think my strengths, one of my biggest strengths is learning how to switch gears depending on my stack size or the stage of the tournament that I'm in. I'm also pretty well studied in ICM final table stuff, whereas other people, I think, they either don't get to a final table that often, or they haven't realized how much ICM implication, like how much that applies at final tables. And I've seen so many mistakes I've been able to take advantage of because people not understanding what stage of the tournament they're in, and they'll kind of overplay a spot or they'll underplay a spot. I've seen chip leaders pass up on, it folds around him, and in the small blind has like, one big blind, and they just fold. You know what I mean? Just like silly things like that, where it's like, all right, man. Like, so I think that I'm pretty good about shifting gears and finding spots, especially when I'm like medium to short stacked. People under call, when you're all in, when they're supposed to call with like certain hands, stuff like that. So I think that would be one of my biggest strengths.
That's great. Let's talk about that a little bit. There are a couple more questions coming up in the YouTube chat, but I want to take this segue. So like I said at the top, a lot of our listeners are recreational players. That doesn't mean that they're not good players or that they're not serious players. They just probably haven't put in this kind of time and volume that professional players do, just because we have day jobs. That's what makes us recreational. But when we're not as experienced, I think we get into these situations like you've described, where we get to a final table, maybe we're not as ICM aware as we might be. What are some let's say you and I sit down at the table and we've never played together before. What are some of the things that I'm going to do that are sort of like telegraphing to you, oh, this is a less experienced player? What are those like signs that you look for? And be frank.
Yeah, that's a great question. I might not be able to like communicate it very well or quantify it, but I when I see it, I know it. So let me try and think of a few things. The way that they look at their cards, that's a start. Whether they shuffle their chips or don't shuffle their chips. Often, grinders sit there and shuffle the chips all day. So basically, their mannerisms in how, like, you can tell when someone's kind of new. Like for me, I'll shuffle the chips at the top of my stack, like, and then people are already gonna know, oh, okay, she knows how to shuffle chips like that, so she probably knows what she's doing or something like that. So their mannerisms, how they talk, like if they're in a hand and then they start talking about like the way they played it, and I'm like, oh, this guy's such a beginner, the way he's speaking about a hand, or, oh, I put you on XYZ. Okay, well, you can't put someone on an exact hand, but so just things like that little tells that they give off, that really kind of give that off, obviously, and then just watching them play a hand, seeing it go to showdown. So those are the main things that I look for. See if they're paying attention, stuff like that. So
those are great. Then let's say that you've sort of identified someone as being less experienced. Are there some sort of like default exploits that you're going to pull out that you're like, okay, well, that means I can do this with this player, or something like that? What are some of those? What are some examples of those?
Yeah, first thing I probably am if they're a rec player or a beginner, they're probably going to be limping a lot, so I'm going to be raising a lot in position against them. I'm also going to be three betting them a ton, it probably with a very very wide range because they're most likely going to play fit or fold post flop. They're going to see a flop, probably call the three bet or fold to it, which would be great. But if they see the flop and whiff, I can probably get them to fold by the river. So just putting maximum pressure. They probably don't want to bust. They probably drove there, paid this buy into play, so they're not
Right.
they're not looking to be out of the tournament in the first level. So yeah.
I like that. So you're applying a lot of pressure. You're giving them opportunities to fold. You're giving them opportunities to make mistakes. Because that's mostly what poker is. We talked about it on the show, like just making your opponents make larger mistakes than you and more mistakes than you. So I'm guessing sizing would be another exploit that you might use against less experienced players because they're just not going to be as savvy about knowing when larger or smaller sizings are called for. Is that true?
Yeah, I think that's something I've personally been. I think the question earlier said, "What are your challenges?" I think bet sizing is something that I need to work on a lot, and deviating. So, if I'm playing, it's a very very loose, passive but calling station type player on King Seven Deuce Rainbow. If he or she is very very cally, I'm not going to down bet this. I'm gonna bet like half pot or more because they just want to get to the river, or they're not going to fold their pair. And if I have a good hand, obviously I would size up. So that would be an example of maybe how I deviate there.
All right, awesome. So you've been very popular on YouTube. You've grown quite a following. I think a lot of people, they know who Pokerface Ash is. That's pretty exciting. One of the questions we got in the YouTube chat here was from Geo Cool. Do you think that having a presence in the poker world, do you think that's an advantage or a disadvantage when it comes to actually playing poker on the phone?
Yeah, I think overall it's an advantage because people try to outplay me or get in pots against me or bluff me more often, or they're like, oh, I want to make the vlog, so they call in the big blind with 8-3 off, and they'll just blast off something. So overall it's good, but it's sometimes, I don't want to say it can get frustrating, but it just you're not going to get as much stuff through, or so you got to kind of know who you're playing against a little bit. But overall I think it has been a little bit of an advantage in a lot of ways. Yeah.
I was listening to the Suited Kings podcast earlier, and they had a question from Chris Jones to Ian Matekas asking, what subject material can people talk to you about at the tables makes you tilt the hardest or makes you make the biggest mistakes? What's your answer to that? How can people, if they're listening, they're like, oh man, I really want to get into Ashley's head at the tables and mess her up. What really tilts you at the tables?
Ooh, gosh. So poker related, or it could be anything.
Oh, whatever's at the top of your mind.
Oh.
Whatever's giving us that expression on your face. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I was just thinking politics, or religion, those sorts of things that just, those are discussions to be had in a very in-depth setting, not at a poker table flinging around chips, in my opinion. But or also just listening to people that think they know a lot about poker, and they're think they're just and then they'll start talking about a hand history, and it doesn't bother me more than it I think it just amuses me a little bit. But so yeah, probably just politics and religion being talked about at the table, that's kind of annoying to me.
That's a good one. Yeah, and people should know those are those are the big two things you don't talk about in polite company going back hundreds of years. So learn it, people. Come on, there's a time and a place for that. We got another question from Chip Extractor. Do you still consider the Phoenix area your poker home base? And how does that area compare to what you've experienced around the country?
Yeah, so no, I don't consider it my home base anymore. But although, Phoenix, Scottsdale, Arizona will always be my home at heart. The games were really good, especially at Talking Stick and at Lone Butte. There's a lot of money to be made in those cash games. The tournaments aren't that great. They just have daily turbo type stuff, but the games were good. But I would say it's definitely not as good as Dallas in the Texas area for sure. But Phoenix and Arizona, I never thought I'd move away. It'll always have a very very special place in my heart.
I love it. We got a question from Hot Wheels and Hold'em. Any long-term plans to open up your own restaurant one day? Sounds like there's a story there.
Well, I love cooking. I think that, and I'm such a foodie. I love cooking like fresh, home cooked from scratch meals and stuff. So, but no, because I think I would love to keep food a very passionate hobby of mine. And once you make it like a job, then I'm not sure I would love it as much. So right now, it's kind of like my escape from the grind. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to queue up a couple food-related questions in our closing the action segment later. That's one thing. And the other thing is, I think like a lot of pro players, they've done exactly that. They've taken this hobby that they had, that they enjoyed, that they were passionate about, and made it their job. And now there's this grind associated with it.
Yeah.
Have you managed to avoid having that feeling with poker, or like, do you still feel about poker the way you feel about cooking, I guess is the question.
That's a great question. And I'll be very, very frank. So I would not recommend becoming a professional poker player because the passion and the drive really, really has to be there. And it kind of takes some of the fun out of it in the sense of like, hey, I'm playing for my mortgage or my car payment this month. And that can be very stressful. Granted, I'm very grateful to be in an opportunity where I have sponsorships and I have other like stuff like that going on and other sources of income to where, yes, I'm playing for a living, but I'm not worried if my bills are going to be paid. Thankfully, now I'm kind of an exception to that. So I'm grateful to be in this position. So I wouldn't recommend it. It's very, very tough unless you just absolutely know it's your passion and something you really want to go for, because having it be as just like another stream of income and having it be more of like a part-time thing, I believe is where you can play your best and where you can feel your best, because you're not worried about making enough money for the month or whatever.
Huzzah! Yes, no, we all agree. I couldn't agree with you more. Very well said. Love it. This is a fantastic interview. I'm glad you agreed to stay on for 4 hours because we were going to have a ton of questions. Sort of a somewhat related question here, I guess, from Pat75. How does one deal with the psychological impact of stone bubbling? Because that's a tough one. That's the right face for it. Ashley, I agree.
Yeah, he stone bubbled my free roll the other night, so he's probably.
I thought there was something going on there. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I think he's making a joke. Yeah.
Yeah, but it never gets any easier, does it? Bubbling is like the worst. Yeah. It's the worst experience, the worst feeling in poker. Maybe like losing aces versus aces to a 4-flop, but like it's right up there.
Yeah, we had just discussed this on my free roll actually the other night, because we were talking about stone bubbling, and I think that's the worst feeling in poker for me personally. I'll never forget. I drove up to Tulsa. It was my first time being sponsored by Poker Bros to go play a main event. I was so stoked. It was my first time driving out to like do this thing on my own. I'm a sponsored pro. I get there. I'm playing the $1,700 main, and actually Poker Mama was there. I didn't know her at the time yet, and she was playing. And thanks to me, they all cashed and made the money because I stone bubbled, and I left absolutely mortified. I can't think of a worse feeling besides busting my first main. That also hurt.
Yeah, that's painful. So Poker Mama's come up in the YouTube chat as well. You guys seem like you get along great. What's it like sort of making friends as a traveling pro? Like you're sort of part of this exclusive community. It's a small world. What's that like, sort of going from someone who's showing up at their first tournament to rubbing elbows with all the rest of like the circuit regulars?
Yeah, it's so funny. As like people are mentioning a guy named Dan Lowery, and I'm like, who's this guy? And now he's like one of my good friends, and I'm learning the who's who in the circuit. Will Barry and like all these guys that just keep showing up at all these final tables and the circuit events and the run good events, and Blair Hinkle, and Brian Winter, all thes guys who are just absolute crushers. I know Brian. And so anyway, yeah, it's been really cool to kind of get integrated into that tournament poker scene. And I still feel very, very new, but I'm starting to learn who's who. So it's been fun to make friends and, like I was saying, just find people who are better than you at poker and be able to talk with them about it. It's been awesome.
I love it. So there's so Chip Extractor says, stay away from the restaurant industry is tough. It sounds like he's speaking from some experience there. Yeah. But says, so since you're an exploitative player, is image something that you think recreationals should even worry about while they're playing? Or are we just not going to be able to hide that we're less experienced, so we should sort of like focus on other fundamentals instead?
Oh, that's a great question. The first thing that came to my mind is you can kind of use the rec thing to your advantage, honestly, because like I said, I make assumptions about rec players, right? So you can kind of learn what we think about you, like as pros, and then kind of try to like, for example, if you're betting every street, we're gonna think you just have it, right? Like we're okay. I'm gonna fold like a huge portion of my range to you by the river because you're probably not bluffing. So I think bluffing more would against good pro players would be to your advantage. Yes, yes. Maybe not someone who's known as a calling station or something like that, but I think that would be a good place to kind of start. Yeah.
So let me press you a little on that because this is like such a juicy content for our audience. So like, what are some of those assumptions and how should we flip the tables on you guys? So like, yes, we think that mostly recreational players aren't going to be very savvy bluffers. They might like choose weird, bad bluff spots, but they're not really, unless you got a note on them, they're spazzing off. They're not going to, you're going to give them credit when they make those actions. What are some other kind of assumptions that you might make that we can stymie in real time?
Yeah, we're going to assume that you really don't want to bust the tournament. Like you drove out here to spend your day playing. You didn't come out here to get it all in with a flip first, 300 bigs deep or anything like that. So we probably would. I mean, I bluff them more. I 3-bet them more often. So you can kind of combat that by either 4-bet jamming some cool hands. You can combat that by making me fold. You can combat that by calling me down lighter. You can combat that by check calling a lot out of position. Against me with good hands. So there's a lot of different, kind of streams you could go down with that to kind of exploit me of like bluffing too much. Yeah.
I like that. I get the sense that, pro players are just they're gonna test the chin a little bit. Yep. And so how you respond to that is also going to be telling. So I think, one tip for recreational players, if someone is 3-betting you a lot, is, picking on you a bit at the table, the first thing you can do is just tighten up pre-flop and just get yourself in positions where you're going to have stronger holdings, where you're going to be able, you're not going to have to fold as often. And you don't mind that either, do you, Ashley? Because now we're just playing fewer hands and, the table's more available.
Yeah. Generally speaking, if someone, if the table's playing more aggressive or you have a very aggressive player to your left, you do have to shrink up your range because you want to show up with stronger hands. For example, if you're a rec player, you're in the low jack, you open king, queen suited, and I'm next stack and I have king jack off, I'm 3-betting it. And so we hit a king high flop or, a queen high flop and I'm barreling and you just get to call down and win a lot of chips off me because you showed up with a stronger hand than me. One that I am dominated by. So that's a way you can kind of combat us a little bit.
Great answer. Thank you. Chris Jones, jump in.
Well, I just gotta after the restaurant subject came up, just the chat kind of blew up. People talking about, yeah, you're a super foodie. She should have a guest cooking appearance. She eats so well on her poker trips. I'd pay for Ash to cook dinner and be hands-on with the cooking, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just curious about kind of poker and eating. I mean, that is like a challenge. I find it a challenge to like eat well while I'm playing, or especially when I'm on a traveling trip. So what are some of your practices? How do you eat so well when you're playing?
Oh man, that's such a great topic to discuss. So there's a few things. So I kind of use eating at fancy, nice restaurants or, notable restaurants as a way to kind of unwind and enjoy myself if I'm grinding, right? So if I have fine time, it'd be nice to eat a nice meal. But the other side of that about staying healthy and staying on the grind and making sure you're eating right. I try to get workouts in. I lift weights. That's the way that I stay physically fit. But there's days that I can't. And on the days that I have to wake up and play a day 2, and so it was more important that I got rest, I try to combat not working out with fasting. So I do a lot of intermittent fasting. So that's really, really helped me. And that also kind of actually helps your brain, your blood sugar, your glucose levels. So that's been really beneficial to me. As far as like eating good, like I'm already kind of dreading it because I'm about to leave for the World Series in 4 days and I've got to go to the grocery store and make sure that I get food. Otherwise I end up spending a ton of money in Vegas that I should not be spending. And then also just eating really junky food, which I'm going to try really hard not to do by going to the grocery store, making sandwiches, PB&Js.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do know. The first day I met you, everyone was like, raving about something about PB&Js. I'm like, what's happening here? So yeah, it just all those things I think play a part in the whole eating thing. I love to enjoy good meals, but also got to find the balance with eating healthy and getting some intermittent fasting in on days where I can't work out.
That's great. You don't get to choose what you're famous for in this world, I've heard. So talk to me a little bit about intermittent fasting, because I've started doing that myself. I got the news from my doctor. I had to lower my blood sugar, try and drop a few pounds. I don't have quite as active a lifestyle as I used to. And so intermittent fasting has been a good thing for me. Tell me a little bit about, like, how do you approach it? Is it the same hours every day? And for our audience, if they're a little less knowledgeable about it, I know, like, we're not nutritionists here, but like, just speaking generally about it, what's worked for you and what's been challenging for you?
Yeah, so I've been doing 16-hour intermittent. So what I've been doing is stopping eating at 10 p.m. and start eating at 2 p.m. because that works best with my schedule because of the hours we play grinding tournaments. So I can't do the thing where, I stop eating at 6 p.m. I'm gonna die before, I'm done playing. I'm so hungry. And it really has helped my blood sugar levels. I've always had blood sugar issues, and so I don't get really hungry when I first wake up, which is great. It also is kind of convenient because I can wake up and just go play versus and I'll drink a black coffee or like a green tea or something, and that kind of suppresses my appetite and keeps me able to play until I'm able to eat. So that's kind of how I've been doing it. I don't always do it, but again, like when I feel like my body needs a little bit of a reset, or if I kind of feel like I'm getting off track, it's a way to kind of like pull me back in discipline wise and just get that going again.
Yeah, great answer. All right, fantastic. We got a little pipe in from Mike Serrano. Just wanted to say what's up and welcome you to the stream, and to say a lot of folks here in the YouTube chat saying nice things about Pokerface Ash. You've obviously had a real impact on the poker community. One of the questions we get here is from High Pitch, and wants to know, do you think it's important to know people within the community, and what are some of the advantages and disadvantages of being plugged in?
Oh, that's a great question too. I think there's definitely advantages and disadvantages. I kind of try, like, I'm such an introvert, so it was hard for me to like kind of put myself out there and be like, hey, be my friend or whatever. So it's not in my nature. But there have been advantages getting integrated. I've made some amazing friends with some amazing people, you guys included in that. There are really good people in the poker community. That being said, there's also some very not good people in the poker community, but that's like life and everywhere. So we can't just like hone in on the poker community. But so yeah, I think some of the advantages are getting plugged in, getting cool perks. Like, I've met friends who have 7 stars and get me free rooms in Vegas. So, that's just like a little perk, being, getting into new things. My friend, Chris, he introduced me to escape rooms. And so that's been cool. And just finding the way people think about the game and the way other people think about life and just meeting new people is just incredible and amazing. Some disadvantages is, you could find the wrong people, you could find the wrong crowd. And so just be careful, don't loan people money, all those lessons, stuff like that. So just be careful.
Yeah, it's a good one. We got a question from the RRRCCC, and I'll pretend I'm not listening to this one. Ashley, what is your favorite poker podcast?
I mean, I gotta be honest with you. I don't really like listen to a ton of them. I gotta be honest. But I love my friends. I love Caitlyn Comeskey. So, I love her podcast. They're always doing hilarious, cool things. But yeah, I don't really tune into a ton of them. I'll be very honest.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So do you consume any poker content? Is there like, I feel like once you're so immersed in the game, it's just not that exciting to then consume poker content away from the tables. Is that true?
I used to consume everything. I would watch every Andrew Nemi vlog, every Brad Owen vlog, every Jaman vlog. And then I just got to the point where I was making my own stuff and I just didn't have time. And then I kind of got to the point where I kind of outgrew that in a sense. In the sense of like, I've really kind of like tried to elevate how I study and who I study with and stuff like that. Not to say that those aren't great. Those helped me tremendously when I first started. And it's why I am where I I am today. But where I am personally right now, I get more value out of, talking to my friends and, using GTO Wizard. And I just don't have time. Like, that's really,
Yeah.
I still like to check in and see what Andrew's doing with his vlogs and see what Jaman's doing, but just to show support. But other than that, I just don't have a ton of time if I'm making my own stuff.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. All right, well, I've got a few more questions for Ashley here, but I'll just remind our YouTube audience we're going to close out the interview pretty soon, so get those questions in, and just a reminder to stick around because we're going to give away a prize after the interview. And some of our new guests here in the YouTube chat might not know the drill, but don't go anywhere. You're going to be eligible to win a great prize. Get those questions in for Ash now. Rob Washam, you unmuted. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I was just curious. We've talked to a lot of poker players, and all of them say that they really progressed in their game when they got involved with a group of people that could get together and discuss poker. Do you have that kind of a crew that you get together with regularly to discuss poker?
Yeah, I think whether on Telegram or we'll do some Zoom calls, stuff like that. Yeah, I do. I definitely do finally have like a little bit of a circle and we get together. And that's kind of what I was saying about like having friends that like are better than you or are on the same journey as you as far as your poker study. That's been monumental for me. So yeah, I wouldn't say like on a super regular basis, but we do get together when we want to like study and go over hands and stuff. And that's been very, very helpful.
And then let's talk a little bit about your role as a vlogger. Was that something that you like immediately started doing and enjoying once you started playing more seriously, or how did that develop?
Yeah, so I kind of started playing professionally full time, like cash, and it's kind of, again, this is a short version. So I had started playing, and I had stopped being a musician. I was a musician, a touring musician. I was coaching college basketball, and when I started playing poker, there was something kind of missing for me because poker is a very inherently selfish game. You're there to take other people's money, and so I was kind of missing the kind of creative process or exchange of just like kind of helping other people in some way. And so creating a poker vlog kind of, gave me those things that I felt were missing, which was giving back, putting out content that people like, and being able to kind of get my creative wheels going. So it's kind of like a all-encompassing thing that ended up working out really, really nicely. I saw that people were really enjoying my vlog. They were benefiting from it. They were learning. So that made me feel so fulfilled and made me want to do it more to like give to others. And so that's kind of how that came about.
Right on. Speaking about community, Chris Jones, our producing co-host, why don't you share the YouTube view to panel view? We've got a question about who are all these faces? Is it just these two guys interviewing Pokerface Ash? Actually, no, high pitch. Thanks for asking. This is the RECing Crew. We're actually just like a group of thoughtful, serious, recreational poker players. We get together here at Rec Poker. We have a lot of fun. We talk about poker. We interview fun people like Pokerface Ash. Thanks for joining the YouTube and stick around. Get a free Rec Poker account. I think you'd find that we're kind of a fun group, if I do say so myself. All right, and then back to the vlog thing for a second there. It's such a cool impact to make on the poker world. It's obviously very soul bearing, though. I mean, you have to really put yourself out there. What was that tension like for you, especially as an introvert? I mean, it's difficult to kind of share yourself so honestly and openly with the world like that.
Yeah, man, it's been such a journey, and I've grown so much as a human being from putting a vlog out and just being out there. I'm very sensitive. I'm a people pleaser. I'm an introvert, and I have major social anxiety. So I had all those things working against me. And so what happened was I'd kind of started my poker journey, started sharing it a little bit on Instagram, and Jaman Burton, he was like, "Why don't you start a poker vlog? You're already like sharing it on your story, like pretty much do the same thing, just put it on YouTube." I'm like, "There's no way I'm going to talk about how I play poker. I don't even know what I'm doing. So I'm never going to like talk strategy." But as I got a little bit better, I felt a little bit more comfortable. Then I felt ready to kind of share what I was thinking about, how I was thinking about the game. And so that's how I just decided to put myself out there. And it was very hard, but it's also helped me to not care about what people think as much, realize that people talk out of their own pain, hurt, and insecurities. And, we could go way in depth into all this, but it's just really helped me let things roll off my back, realize that, for every negative comment, there's like 10 to 100 people who love what I'm doing. So I try to focus on that. And it's been a really cool growth experience for me.
What are, I guess this will be my last question. I don't see any more coming in the YouTube chat here. So what are some of the challenges over the course of like a week or a month that oh, I'm not looking forward to this, or I wish I didn't have to do this, or what are some of the kind of unseen difficulties of this life that you've chosen?
Editing vlogs.
Yeah.
It takes so many hours, and it's such a grind. This is why lately I've taken a little bit of a break. Granted, I am moving. I'm moving houses. I'm buying a house. There's just a lot going on, so I needed to kind of take a step back. But yeah, it's just so that's one of the things is editing. Another thing is the travel started to really get to me. I love poker. I wasn't burnt out from poker. I was burnt out from Uber rides and airplanes and just hotels, and every hotel is different, and being in new places. That is hard for me because I'm a creature of habit, again, so kind of like a hermit. So going and traveling is not like, it's a little bit hard. So those things can be a little bit tough for me.
Great answer. Thank you for that. All right, so we do have one more question coming through from the YouTube chat here. Well, we'll give a combo here. Have you ever coached, or do you consider coaching?
So I just started. So I did a ladies lunch and learn in Arizona. I did a meetup game back in Arizona at my old home casino, and the lunch and learn went so great. And at the end, they gave away a 1-hour coaching session with me, and I ended up doing that just a few weeks ago, and I did it, and it was my first time doing it, and it went so well that I had some other people inquire. So I am thinking about doing some sort of coaching for like beginner to intermediate players, but I wouldn't be able to even take that on until after I get settled in my new home and get home from the series. But yes, I actually love teaching. I coached college basketball, so teaching and coaching is kind of in me. So I could see myself doing that. Yeah.
That's great, and you get the bug for it. And a lot of our RecPoker Crew members do coaching through the membership here at RecPoker, and it is very soul giving. Like, it's very life giving. It's very rewarding. It's very validating. Yeah. And I think we kind of forget how much we've learned over the years. And, so a lot of like, we also work with a lot of beginner and intermediate players. And like, a lot of the problems that they're having they're pretty low hanging fruit. Like, they mostly just need like a guide to sort of advance their way through the path of poker a little bit, as much as anything. So good for you. I'm sure you're going to be great at it. And I'm sure you'll really enjoy it when the time comes. Okay, so last question then. I'll kind of tie in a couple of these last ones here in the YouTube chat, and then we're going to play Stake, Study, Stack and close the action with our speed round. So what's left for you? What goals do you have specifically within the poker world at this point?
Yeah, I want to win more rings. I want to win a bracelet. I want a final table a bracelet event. Came very, very close last year. Very, very close.
Yep.
And I want to, get over a $500,000 on Hendon Mob very, very soon. We'll get there. And I just want to be a notable tournament player. I as much as I want to make content and be good in the content world, I also just want to be known as a really good player. So that's something I'm working towards. And then also, I want to reach 100,000 subscribers on Instagram sooner than later. We are on a very good trajectory to hit it, and then the algorithm with YouTube kind of got weird, and views went down, subscribers went in. But we're on the slow grind, we're on the steady grind, so that's okay. Just want to continue to be a good advocate for women in poker, and that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Great, I love it. Yeah, Lowery and Percy are here in the YouTube chat, obviously on the same page. She just typed that question in as well. So, all right. Well, thank you to all our YouTube chatters. Great to see some new faces in the chat there. Stick around. We're going to do a couple fun little segments with Ashley here to close out the session, and then we'll give away a fantastic prize. And all you have to do is support a local food bank by sticking around in the YouTube chat. So please do. So it is actually, I guess we introduced a soundboard recently. I'm like so excited now. I feel like a morning show shock jock. Yes. All right. So that is now officially the end of the interview question. And we'll move into Stake, Study, Stack. So I'm very excited to be welcoming Eric Binkley Gin to the chat here. Stake, Study, Stack is an Eric Gin original concept. But because he lives and works on the West Coast, he's infrequently able to actually make the recording of the show. So Eric, maybe for the first time, please introduce this fantastic new segment to Pokerface Ash.
Hi, Ashley. So you might be familiar with a game called Kiss, Marry, Kill, where you take three names and you have to put them in those three categories. Well, I came up with a poker version of that called Stake, Steady, Stack. So I'm going to give you three names. You have to put one name per category, one to stake in a poker, either cash game or tournament, study, somebody you want to study poker with, or stack, somebody you just want to take all their chips at the table.
Okay.
So the three names for you are Caitlyn Comeskey, Dan Lowery, Jaman Burton.
Okay. So I'm gonna stake Dan Lowery for sure. I'm going to let's see, study with Caitlyn, and I'm definitely gonna stack Jaman's ass for sure. Yeah.
Nice.
He talks so much crap to me.
Have you stacked them before?
No. We've played some pots together, but nothing exciting.
There you go. Thanks, Eric. I'm glad you were able to make it happen for real. That's such a fantastic segment, Eric. Thanks for all you do for Rec Poker here too. That's fantastic. All right. Well, then we will get ourselves into the speed round. We call it closing the action. So, actually, for this one, I'm just going to throw a bunch of rapid fire questions at you. They're mostly poker related.
Okay.
I'm looking for honest, quick, short, fast responses. And you can say pass. We don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable. And if you're taking too long, we're going to throw the buzzer at you.
Oh gosh.
But we're generally pretty relaxed about this. But yeah, speed round. I want the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay.
Okay.
Let's start it. All right. Pokerface Ash, we're going to close the action. Let's start off with an easy one. What is your favorite poker hand?
Pocket aces.
Is poker a gamble or a skill game?
Skill game.
What's your biggest poker pet peeve?
Being rude. People being rude to the dealers.
Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
I've never seen it.
Boy, we're on a run of people that haven't seen Die Hard. Is Ace King a drawing hand?
No.
What's one thing that would make you truly happy?
Other people being happy.
Oh, that's nice. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
No.
What about a taco? Is a taco a sandwich?
No.
What's one thing you're afraid of?
Not fulfilling my purpose before I die.
What pineapple on pizza? Yes or no?
Yes.
Should vacations be lazy or busy?
Who?
Vacations.
Oh, lazy.
Is a royal flush a straight flush?
Yes.
What's your favorite poker venue?
A win.
How do you grapple with your own mortality?
Every day, very roughly.
Good answer. There's a yellow light coming up. Slow down or speed up?
Speed up.
Who's your poker nemesis?
Dan Lowery.
All right. And let's say you're playing in a cash game and you don't want to chop the blinds because you have a hand that might make a high hand promotion or something like that. Is there like a code word or something that you can use to tell the other player that you don't want to chop the blinds?
I mean, that's cheating, so I shouldn't do it. It's colluding.
But it's true, but yet nevertheless, we do see it happen in the world. No, we shouldn't do it, let's say, but when people do it, have you ever heard of them use like a code word for that?
Yes, I just couldn't remember what it was, but yes, they do.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's stop the timer. That was a really good round. I'm just going to do some quick math here. 974 points. Fantastic result. Actually, Frank, that's great. Pokerface Ash, almost up into quadruple digits there. So you should feel very, very good about that. Yeah. The last question, and this is something we ask all our guests. So you've led this wonderful, rich life. You're at the top of your game. You're loving this life as a poker pro. But someone comes up with a gun to your head and says, you have to go back and do one thing differently. What's the one thing you would go back in your life and change?
Just being more assertive and aggressive in all areas of my life. So investing harder, being more aggressive with my bankroll, moving up in stakes faster, betting on myself more, just kind of just going for it and stopping being scared to fail. Just go for it.
I love it. Great answer. And some really some fun responses here in the YouTube chat as well. So this has been a real pleasure. So folks, we're going to let Ashley go in just a moment. But first, I just want to remind you. So here, it's just start typing the words food bank into the YouTube chat if you'd like to be entered into our raffle. It's really simple. All you have to do is just type in the words food bank. And the reason we do this is because we just want to raise awareness for the fight against food insecurity. I know we try and take the stigma away from the word rec in recreational poker players, and we're also trying to take the stigma away from people that need a little support, a little help making ends meet, or putting food on the table for a family or a loved one or a child by using a food bank. If you take out your smartphone right now and just Google food banks near me, you'll find an organization that could benefit from a few dollars out of your pocket, a few hours out of your day as a volunteer, or a few non-perishable food items from your pantry. And so I'd encourage you just help out a local food bank. It's a great way to make a big difference with a little. And you never know, you might be surprised at who needs a little help, someone in your neighborhood, someone in your community. It might not always be who you expect, but I would encourage you just to help out your local food bank and just type the words food bank into the YouTube chat here, and we'll give away a prize in just a few minutes. Ashley, is there anything else you'd like to leave our listeners with? What's the one thing that if our audience really enjoyed your interview and wanted to say thanks and subscribe to something or like something, like how could we most impactfully say thanks and get more Ashley Frank in our lives?
Yeah, well, I'm almost to 40,000 subscribers on YouTube. So, and it's completely free to subscribe. I know the word subscribe, people sometimes think there's a fee associated, but it's completely free. It's just a way to support, be a follower. So subscribe on YouTube and follow on Instagram. But if you want to support further than that, you can become a member of my YouTube channel or a subscriber on Instagram. I think it's like $5 a month, and it just help the free content and the channel and all that. So you can find me on there as Pokerface Ash on everything. So,
all right. So please do. And I want to remind if you're listening to this at home, you might want to go to the YouTube and watch this episode. This is episode 591, I believe it is. And apparently there's a great screenshot to be had when Ashley was asked about the yellow light coming up. So you might not want to miss that. I'm going to go back and watch that one myself. I'm looking forward to it. Pokerface Ash, Ashley Frank, you've been a wonderful guest. This was a real pleasure. I'm sorry it took 591 episodes to get you on the show, but I'm glad you came. Thank you so much. I hope to see you at a Run Good event or somewhere else real soon.
Yeah, hope to see you all at the World Series. Thank you so much for having me. A long time coming. Thanks for being patient with my crazy travel schedule. So glad we were able to do this. Thank you guys so much. I had a blast.
All right. Well, travel safe. Definitely see you in Vegas. That's Pokerface Ash, everybody. What a wonderful interview that was. I knew it was going to be. Thanks again, Ash.
Thank you.
So let's talk about some recent home game results. We'll welcome our own John Somsky back onto the air. He found his hat, folks. He found his hat. Oh my God, look at all those freaking pins. John, way to go.
Yeah, I finally found it was in a corner. It was a box. I moved to a new house recently, for those who don't know. And, well, maybe not so recently anymore. But anyway, it was in a box under a different box. Found it, have the hat back. With all the pins, that's the important.
It's a very impressive number. See if you can get all those in frame. Like I got a few going on over here, but that's a lot of pins for the one and only John Somsky.
Yeah, just no silvers yet, and no golds. I am falling behind the rest of my peers. Okay, on May 20th, Keck Geek got his first nightly victory for the year.
All right.
Then Eric E. Anderson 85. Eric Anderson got his third nightly victory for the year. Then Eric Anderson, E. Anderson 85, got his fourth nightly victory for the year. Back-to-back nights. One Jack Black won the daily mixed event, and this time it was appropriately Limit Hold'em or Limit Omaha 8. Duck and Run 99, Michael Savage got his second international victory for the year. Keeley 1930 19341, Rich Deakins got his second international victory for the year, and Michael Babker, won the LPP event. So he can contact info@rec.poker for his free month at Learn Pro Poker.
Man, I love to see it when you see these like active members ascending into the winner's circle here at RecPoker. Rob,
Who did Mike beat heads up?
I don't think he had much competition. It was some poker geek MN guy or something. So I think he had an easy time once it got to heads up.
Oh, okay.
I saw that in the Discord. So one of the things that John is amazing in his portfolio, he not only runs all the home game results or all the home game tournaments. He not only sets them up and schedules them and tracks all the results. He also posts the winners in our Discord, and it's an amazing home game club. I'd encourage if you're just getting involved for the first time. Most of what we do here is free. We have a free home game club. We do Discord, the forums, all sorts of great stuff. Get involved. Sign up for a free account at rec.poker and join the group. I think you'd have a lot of fun. So congratulations to all those winners. And Michael Babker, I got to give a shout out because Michael's volunteering his time as our technical director and has for quite a while now. It's not hyperbole to say that RecPoker would not function without the generosity of Michael Babker. So if you see Michael Babker in the wild, if you're down there in Florida, please put a cold drink in his hand and tell him thanks from Jim and the rest of the crowd here at RecPoker. Okay, so we've got some fantastic activity in the YouTube chat tonight. And some very complimentary folks in there as well. Thanks, everybody. That's very nice of you to say these wonderful things about Ashley and the rest of the group here. Chris, we've got the Daiso Cam out there.
Daiso Cam is fired up.
Now, do we have a die big enough for this number of people? Shall we run through it?
I'm counting 11. Are you counting 11? Starting at Hot Wheels.
Hot Wheels, Joe, High Pitch, Michael, Stuart, Jim, the RRRCCC, Marion, Jennifer. Oh, hi, Jennifer. Nice to see you again. Lorianne, Luke O coming in. Oh, I don't know if I was still doing my fingers or not. That was dumb.
Oh, wait. K-Poker wanted
12 at the bottom.
12. Okay. I got a 12. I got a 12-sider. You're just as nerdy
as I am. All right. Perfect. Let's see who's going to win that fantastic prize.
Here we go. Ready?
Here it goes.
It's a 10.
Looks like a 10. Okay. Let's just make sure we got this right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Lorianne Persinger. All right, Lorianne.
There we go.
Congratulations. So, Lorianne, you have won. You're not at the moment, I believe, a RecPoker Premium member. And so you have won a month of free membership here at rec.poker, our premium membership. So congratulations, you lucky duck.
If I remember our interview with her, this has got to be the best prize she's ever won, right?
What a great callback. Yeah, something, if you know much about Lorianne Persinger, you know that she actually has won some very exciting prizes over the years. This is definitely the most exciting, though. I think. Oh, it's
clearly. I mean, sometimes you win a car, whatever. Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah, cars, thousands of dollars on amazing game shows. But there's only one RecPoker. So, Lorianne, welcome, and congratulations. Send an email, please, to info@rec.poker to claim your amazing prize. And we do all sorts of other great prizes here as well. So if you're having a good time tonight in the YouTube chat, I hope you come back next week. We'll be talking to Grant and Jonathan from the Poker Guys. Or the Breakdown, or whatever. They've got a branding problem, to be honest with you, when it comes to all the different things that they call themselves. But it's going to be a fun show, and we'll give away some prizes then as well. All right. What else should we cover? Do we need to shout?
Can I just say something from the YouTube chat? Because Marianne mentioned not being able to play in our home games because she lives in a state that doesn't allow it. But like Joe mentioned in the chat, this is Play Money. And you can jump in there on PokerStars, and One of the things we love about this is they're play money games, but people take the game seriously. I have never played in play money games where I felt like the people playing in it were playing like they would if there was actual money at stake. And that is one of the true benefits of this. You can learn from it. You can join this community. You can gain experience. You can try out new things that maybe you're like learning about. Oh, maybe I should 3-bet more. Well, you can try it in this space, and it's a great experience because people react to you like they're playing in real poker environments. So come join us.
Yeah, well said. It has been not by us. Other people have referred to it as the toughest play money tournament series, period. So people are coming and trying and learning, and it is a great play. It is a great way to come in and practice and play with other fun, friendly folks. Another element that makes kind of Rec Poker special is we just don't tolerate jerks. And, not to put a fine point on it, but like, if you're an asshole, we're just going to kick you out. Like, we're just not interested in players that are rude to other players, that berate other players, that, this is a positive and encouraging poker learning community. And the more we emphasize that, and the more we kind of bring in well-intentioned, big-hearted, fun poker people, the stronger it is. And I'd rather have a smaller community with 0 jerks in it than a larger community with some jerks in it. And that's how we do it here. So get involved. It's a fun group. It's a fun gang. It's a fun home game club. And there's a lot of value there. So I hope some folks do. Thanks, Chris. Well said. All right. And I guess, let me see. Speaking of the home game club, in June, on the 22nd, wait, is that the 22nd? Maybe it should be the 15th. What John Somsky, our heads up, we do a quarterly heads up bracket here.
I believe we do it on the third Saturday, right?
The third Saturday. So it's actually on the 15th of June. You can sign up for our Marek Madness qualifier. It's just one of the fun home game series that we have here, where you can play against some other fantastic recreational players, heads up, and see if you can win your way into Marek Madness, which you can hear more about at another time. Other than that, just head on over to rec.poker/support if you want to look for some ways to help us out without spending a dime. And I got to mention that Running Aces is our sponsor. Again, they've got some fun stuff going up. If you want to learn more about them, you can go to runaces.com. But failing any other notices or updates, let's roll on out of here, folks. I want to thank Ashley Frank, Pokerface Ash, for being a fantastic guest. We might have to have her back at some point soon. Everyone in the YouTube chat, some fantastic chatters there. Thank you. Eric Jin, Kim Kilroy, Rob Washington, Chris Jones, and John Somsky. You guys are the best. Thank you, audience at home. And thanks for tuning into the Red Poker Podcast. See you next week, folks.